Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I know I say I'm excited for every single video, but I'm genuinely excited for this one because I've been wanting one of these dresses for so long, and the dress that I'm trying to make today is this. I call them the curtain dress because, let's be honest here, that is curtain fabric. As a disclaimer, I know this fabric is not specifically for curtains, but I just associate it with curtains because growing up that was literally all I saw all day. So I'm not an expert on curtains, but my mom is because she makes them for a living. So we have a stockpile of that downstairs in our basement. I'm not gonna ruin a set of curtains today, but I'm gonna use curtain fabric, which I guess essentially is the same thing. I have no pattern for this. I don't know if I care to find one online because I know these things tend to, you know, you want it to fit your body, so I might just like take some fabric and whoosh, figure it out. I really hope this works out. If you're watching this video, I think that means it worked out. Yeah, let's see if I butcher this or not. So to be honest, I was really inspired by this dress, and so I did some digging and I found this dress on the REVOLVE website for $200 freaking, and I was not about to spend that money. So I decided to model my piece after this one, but quite frankly, I didn't want a super long dress and I didn't have the same fabric, so I knew it would kind of turn out a little bit different. Okay, so this is our load of fabric. I don't know how to explain this besides the fact that we're just hoarders in this household. And then I just took some white fabric and loosely pinned it to my body to make a pattern. This is how that turned out. Okay, I know I look a little bit weird, but I've kind of just freeform safety pinned up a ton of fabric. And at this point I decided to sew it together to make sure that everything was in line, and let me tell you, it was not. I very vaguely have this down. I sewed it like really poorly, but it doesn't look that bad on camera, and it kind of also looks like a wedding dress, but I had so many minor issues with this and I didn't know how to deal with it, which is quite typical of me. So here I am trying to straighten out the side seams, but honey, this was not it. And I just ended up asking my mom to help me with it, and I went ahead and remade that pattern. By now it was already 11 p.m. at night, and I started this at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So, and for anyone curious, these are the measurements that I ended up with for my pattern, but I would recommend against using these straight up as a reference since this is a fitted dress. So unless you have the same exact body measurements as me, it probably won't fit the same. And just to note, this is not to scale and does not include seam allowance, which I would give maybe ½ inch to on each side. So this is the next day, and this is the fabric that I ended up picking, which I thought would be kind of nice and kind of schmexy. I went ahead and folded the top part down at a 30-degree angle since I wanted the dress to kind of slant like it did in the inspo pic. And then I just folded the fabric in half, traced my pattern on this fabric, pinned it down, and then cut it out. I did the same for the back piece, and I traced those two patterns out and cut it. And then I was struck with a bolt of inspiration, and I had this vision in my head of these rope straps, which I had absolutely no idea how it would work out, but thankfully I found this lovely tutorial on YouTube by Darlene, which I will link down below if you want to check it out. And I followed that, and oh my god, this looks pretty damn good. Not gonna lie, it was kind of hard to get the hang of this at first, but after a few knots the rope really started taking shape. And really quickly, if you want to make this at home, you just need 2 strips of fabric, which I attached with a safety pin, and then I just folded the fabric edges inward since the fabric had a tendency to fray a lot. But then you just twist the fabric away from you twice and then wrap it back towards you once. Use your other hand to hold that in place, and then do the same for the other strip of fabric, and then you will get a nice rope. And this is how the rope turned out. It took much longer than I expected, and my fingers felt like mush at the end, but the payoff was nice, and my cat really enjoyed it as a toy, so I might even make more of these. Now at this point I was a little bit confused about the ordering of the fabric, but I decided to stuff the rope under the fold of the dress and then pin it down so I could sew at the sides. So right along here is where I sewed. And since the rope is kind of dense, I had to release the safety pin and flatten it out. And even after flattening it out, it was still kind of thick, so I was worried I would break a needle, but thankfully that didn't happen. So now that that was done, I flipped everything over and praise the Lord because everything worked out and this actually looked kinda legit. I mean, look at that. So I just spent the next 10 minutes parading this piece of fabric around in my house because I have no shame. Now I am on to the next piece, which is the back. I went ahead and marked the place where I'd be taking in the fabric to accommodate for my waist. So I essentially drew 2 1-inch triangles down the back and then sewed those triangles up. Now I had 2 pieces that I needed to sew together in the middle. So earlier on my prototype, I had the zipper on the side, but then I decided to move it to the back because, to be honest, I couldn't get the butt area to fit well, so I thought maybe putting the zipper there would fix it. Does that make sense? But I did sew together the 2 pieces halfway to leave room for the zipper, and then I just ironed it out, and voila! So brief intermission because my mom came downstairs at this point to see if I was alive, and I was not. But she did point out that my fabric was getting super frayed, so she whipped out this machine that I have never seen in my life before. But apparently this is a serger, and it trims and locks the seams on the end so that you don't get frayed edges like I had going on. So yeah, it's a special type of sewing machine. Turns out my mom does not really know how to use this machine, so we spent a full 30 minutes trying to figure out how to use it. At this point, I think my mom realized that I was a delinquent, so she decided to show me where to attach the zipper properly, but to be quite honest, I just let her take over because I didn't trust myself to take care of that. And once we got to this sewing machine, she flippin' took off the presser foot and replaced it with one that would stitch the zipper, which my mind was just blown. And then she just kind of did the rest for me, so thanks, Mom. And after that, my mom still hung around because she didn't trust what I was doing, and neither did I. Look at that back. I literally didn't pre-plan this, but the 2 triangles that I sewed kind of ruined the curvature of the back, so my mom had to help me trace out some inner lining, and look at her just freehanding that like a boss. We had to use the serger again for this, and afterwards I just lined it up with the back piece, changed the foot back, sewed it together, and ironed that out, and this is what it looked like. So now we finally had these 2 pieces, and I basically spent a full 3 days doing this, which I guess you can't really tell from the footage, but this was such a long process, and I couldn't believe how mentally taxing it was. Anyways, I finally had something relatively presentable, albeit a little bit loose, and not gonna lie, but this fabric was super stiff, so the whole loose look just wasn't gonna cut it. So I decided I'd give myself more stress and add some ruching to the side. If you're wondering about my mental well-being at this point, I think I was 90% dead, 7% excited, and 3% hungry, so that was my Sunday. And then I realized I made a huge mistake with the straps, and I had attached the lining for the back without attaching the straps, which technically should have gone between the back piece and the lining. So here's a montage of me having the time of my life while seam ripping before my battery died. Fun fact, I literally had to move the files out of my 32 gigabyte memory card 3 times. 3 times. That's 90 gigs of memory for this one video. So if you're wondering how editing is going, let me just tell you that I have not slept in 2 days. So yes, life is good. I didn't get footage of the last part, but I did attach the straps to the back, so spare me this one time. The final thing I did was ruching, and so I cut out 2 strips of 1-inch wide fabric, and then I sewed them into straps. And then I cut out another rectangular piece of fabric, which I sewed on the inside and then secured the straps onto, and that was done and done. At the very, very end, my mom did whip out another contraption. I actually don't know what this is called, so if you do know, please let me know. But basically it just hemmed the bottom without showing the thread on the exterior, which was really nice. And afterwards I took the best nap of my life. But that is not what you are here for, so yes, that is me checking if I'm sweaty or not because it was crazy hot outside that day. But yeah, am I proud of this dress? Yes. Is it perfect? No. Will I wear it anytime soon? Probably not unless someone decides to get married or I need to FaceTime my ex. But overall, pretty decent dress. Also, I'm actually pretty glad that I spent the extra time to make the rope instead of regular straps because it looks so much more put together. And here's my food baby. I mean the ruching on the left side. I also sewn this during that time of the month, so I didn't realize how bloated I would be when I tried to make the pattern, but that's probably why this dress sits a little bit loose on me now, and also why that bib in the front doesn't fill out entirely. Did I mention it was 90 degrees outside today? So I don't really know how to eloquently transition into the next segment, so please ignore the mess in the background. For some reason, I thought it would be smart to film this inside as well. Here are those clips so it doesn't go to waste. And that is the video for today. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so that my 4 days of sweat and tears do not go to waste. And thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Peace.